bridge club, and it really was just a bunch of ladies drinking wine. But it sounded so good to say to the babysitter, I'm going to play bridge. Doesn't that sound intellectual? Versus, I got 2 Marlots I'm popping down tonight. Well, anytime you go into her house, she had this white carpet, and she had, I remember this, Waterford crystal vase on the floor, on her marble floor next to the fireplace. And I just thought, oh, one kid in a Tonka truck, that baby is gone. I wouldn't even let Nathan ride in the front of her house on his bike because his karma would just woo in like a tsunami. And so anyway, she was always had a comment on education too. It was always, really, what are your teachers doing? What, you get the summers off to play golf. You have that whole spring break for the cruise season. I'm cruising the Kmart parking lot. And then she was on and on about it. She goes, and now my little neighbor girl's reading Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I read that when I was in high school. Has it changed? And I just was sitting there, and I wasn't saying anything. Well, our school was doing the School to Work initiative, where we were bringing in accountants, we were bringing in egg leaders, we were bringing in all these people to actually teach the kids so the kids could see a comparison between the learning and between applicable skills out in the workforce. And that night at Bridge, she said, oh, really? And now I hear you're bringing the real people in to teach. What will you do, sleep in the faculty lounge? And at that point I thought, okay, babe, I'm done. And I'd played a couple really good hands of bridge. And I looked at her, I said, you know, you're right. What was your math major again? She goes, I graduated from the University of Minnesota with a degree in Elizabethan poetry. I said, well, there's a marketable skill. And wow. I said, you would be perfect. I have 2 classes in the morning of 10th graders that love 10th grade English so much, they're taking it a second time. And I said, nothing excites them more than Shakespeare. Why don't you come teach the Shakespeare sonnet? Well, she'd been flapping her gums for too long, so she couldn't say anything. But yes, she went, well, I could do that. I went, I know. And I'll even stay in the room. I'll get my nap later. And I know this woman had never seen the sun come up. So I said, and not to worry, I'll come pick you up. And she came out of the house in this gorgeous ensemble, a wool skirt, I know, that cost more than my year's salary. She had on these black boots with these tall, little, tiny, skinny, I thought, we walk on cement. And her hair was food, and she was carrying a Coach briefcase. Now, some men in here might not understand that, but in the world of women, that's big. A Coach briefcase.
Oh, it's expensive.
It's expensive. Usually they're very small and very expensive. And I remember she got in the car and she said, I brought one of my good briefcases. Do you think the kids might take it? And I thought, well, don't leave it in the faculty lounge. That baby's gone. We just discovered eBay, you know. And she was a collector of Elizabethan hats. And I had told her that as an educator, very often we like to costume so that we could bring the kids into the learning environment. Oh, she sucked it up like a hoover vac. And honestly, she came with this hat that had these 2 spiky little things, cones sticking out the side, with a piece of chiffon between them, and then the chiffon hanging down the back, and this little thing on her head, and she had this huge piece of elastic to hold it on. Oh, I laughed. I did not. I was a very good professional. And I said to her, oh, why don't you put that on as we walk in and then greet the children, because they like to be greeted in the morning. So she puts this hat in and she's, hello, hello. And the kids are like, well, I'm not a sexist. I'm not. I do not advocate violence. But I did believe that this opportunity gave her a realistic look at some days in education. As we were going down the hall, you know, boys, if they break into a fight, they'll punch a couple times, then they step back and they reassess.